Hey friends, and welcome back to Sewing from Scratch. Change of scenery today. As you can tell from the title of this video, we are doing some burn tests. So I'm using my sink for absolute safety, right? So I've prepared, I think, 9 different fabrics that we are going to do burn tests on, and then there's 2 bonus ones too. So I'm going to be using fabrics that I don't know the content of, which is typically when you would do a burn test. I'm also going to do some fabrics that I do know the content of, just so we can kind of get used to what it should look like and what that fabric is going to do when it burns and the characteristics and that kind of thing, and to compare it to the chart that I'm using for doing my burn test and kind of determining what fabrics I have. At the end of the video, I'm just going to go over some tips that I have written down maybe to help you if this is your first time burn testing. I am not an expert. I have done this in the past, but this is the first time I've really done kind of more of a deep dive into it. So I am very much a beginner, just like you might be. Why would you do a burn test? Well, I've already mentioned a burn test is to determine what the fabric content is of your particular piece of fabric. Now, you're not going to be able to figure out exactly, is this 60% cotton and 20% linen and 20% something else. You're not going to be able to figure that out, but you will have a pretty good idea. You're definitely going to be able to figure out if it's a natural fiber or a synthetic fiber. I like to buy fabric at the thrift store. I often have fabric gifted to me from different people in our community, and I don't always know the fabric content. Sometimes you get lucky and it might be written on the selvage, but most of the time you have no idea. And through experience and feeling different fabrics, especially if you can go to an actual fabric store and read the tags and feel the fabrics, you will get to know what different fabrics feel like, or you can definitely, online shops now, a lot of them offer swatches, and it's really great for getting to know the different types of fabrics, what they feel like. You could even do a burn test on them. If you think that another fabric in your stash is similar, take a little chunk off and burn them both side by side just to see what they do. What I'm getting at is burn tests are great for determining what type of fabric you have. It's not always something that you're going to really care about, but there might be certain applications where you do need to care about them. So I am filming the intro on Monday. This burn test was filmed on Sunday. I was also doing some fabric dyeing, and you're gonna see a tiny little clip of that, but I was multitasking and it was crazy. If you're interested in the fabric dyeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If this video ends up being helpful for you, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I'll catch you after we do the actual burn test and give you some tips that I learned along the way. So I'm just getting set up here. I made little papers here with my fabrics that I'm going to be testing. So here I have 4 different unknown fabrics, you know, when you get from the thrift store or hand-me-downs or whatever. And then here are ones that I know the content of, so I'm interested to see if they match with the chart that I printed off. Just did a Google search, and I will link this in the description box below, but it has all the different fabrics and then the different characteristics. So description, flame and residue, smell, smoke, and ash, and we're going to compare with that. And then these are the matching fabric swatches that I'm actually going to burn. And then I actually have 2 extra ones here, hemp and bamboo. I didn't have, I found them after I made my list here, so I thought I would just try them anyway, just to see what they do. Hemp is on this list, but bamboo is not, so I'm interested to see what happens with that. And then I'm also working on my fabric dyes here too. So if you're interested in how that's going to turn out, make sure you subscribe, because that is going to be an upcoming video. So I also have my little lighter here, a pen for recording my findings, and a pair of tweezers. Not sure this is 100% necessary, but it will protect your fingers. So let's go. All right, so we're going to start with the unknown number 1, this red burgundy type fabric. I have a feeling there might be some wool in this because it is kind of itchy. I made a dress out of this, and yeah, it's kind of itchy. Start to light it. So as you can see, it is burning. Okay, so it's got black smoke. There's definitely ash, but it is bubbling too, like as if it's melting. And it's very stinky. Yeah, and I would say it smells like burning hair. All right, now the ash. So oh yeah, you can see it's totally just crumbling. I'm gonna say it's between silk and wool, but it says silk has little or no smoke and wool has a dark smoke, and you guys saw there was definitely a dark black smoke. Gritty powder or dark brittle easily crushable bead. Yeah, I'm saying this was wool. Again, we don't know the percentage, but we know from the burn test that it was wool. That's what I'm calling it. And that was my assumption as well. Okay, let's go on to unknown number 2, which is like this, and I actually have a feeling this is wool too. Just the way when I was pressing it, when I was working with it, that it was smelling. So let's try that. Okay, again with the dark smoke. Is it curling away from the flame? Yes. I'm gonna set this down right now. Oh, it's melting. Okay. You can see it's like melting there. Well, is it? I don't know. There is a bead. Okay, this is like very similar to the red one we just did. I would guess that it is also wool. We'll see. We'll just let it go here. I do have the window open now, so it's gonna be a little different, the flames blowing around. All right, so it's totally out now. Yeah, very comparable with the first one, other than it holds together a little more, but I think maybe that's because there's a little bit left underneath there. I'm gonna go ahead and say it is wool. They were both knits, but the red was more like a ponte, a heavier weight knit and less stretch, much more stable, and this one is more like an interlock or even like a jersey, or I have a feeling this might have been merino wool. I don't know because I've never worked with it exactly, but that's my guess. And yeah, these are basically the same thing. Okay, next up I'm going to try this number 3 here. I have a feeling this is polyester, so let's see what it does. This might happen quickly, so... Oh, there, it's burning now. So it is curling away from the flame, I guess. It's burning quicker than the other 2. But it doesn't really want to stay burnt. There's a black smoke coming off, and the smell, yeah, it smells like burning paper. The smoke is, it's black, but it's not as black as the others were, like as much smoke. Okay, so you can see no ash. It is melted, I guess. I really don't know with this one. It's looking actually like linen, because it takes time to ignite and the flame is easily extinguished. May glow after flame extinguished. No beads remain. So that's, I mean, it's not the same, but there are some characteristics there, and it smells like burning paper. But it also is like polyester, burns and melts, shrinks away from the flame, and leaves a hard brown bead. Well, this is black, but it is hard. Chemical odor and black smoke, fume is hazardous, no ash. So it's probably polyester, but I don't know, there might be a tiny bit of linen in there. That's very interesting. I'm gonna go with polyester though, for all intents and purposes. We're calling it polyester. Yeah, the smell is definitely more chemically now that it's burnt more and I think about it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's polyester. All right, on to the final unknown fabric, which is this one, blue fabric. I think this is a linen blend, but let's see how my suspicions hold up. I've been pretty accurate so far, so let's see. Burning fairly rapidly, curling away from the flame, black smoke. Oh, there's some white smoke down here too, white and gray. This smells like burning paper. This, I have a feeling, is linen or cotton. It's leaving fibers, which is interesting. So between linen and cotton, there's a couple different distinguishing features when they're burning. And then their smell is the same, their smoke is the same, but the cotton will leave a fine and soft ash that is easily crumbled, and the linen, it just says fine and soft. So let's see what happens when I try and pick this up. It is easily crumbled, which they both say. Actually, can you see that? Oh shoot. It's like, I can see the net, like the weave in there. So it left part of the structure. So yeah, I'm definitely still thinking cotton or linen, but unfortunately, I can't really tell. So maybe it's a blend. Maybe it is a cotton linen blend. So maybe once we burn the cotton and the linen that I know are cotton and linen, we can then compare. So I'm just gonna leave this piece over here so we know, or that's one we don't know. Now let's go to the ones we do know the content of. This is the linen. Oh, burns much slower than that blue one did, hey? Oh yeah, and you can see it glowing there. Yeah, the other one really didn't look like this, but it is leaving that structure there just like that one did. And this one definitely has like a gray or white smoke. So maybe this one has some polyester in it as well. Could be a cotton poly blend maybe? Cotton linen poly blend. Yeah, this is very, very different. Well, not very, very different, but this part is different. And this glowing ring here is different. The other one did have it, but not as pronounced. So let's just put that to the side and let's do the cotton next. So this is 100% cotton. It's actually a muslin cotton, so it's like unbleached, totally raw. So it should be a good indication of what cotton does. Fairly slow. So yeah, that blue one must have had some poly in it. You can see the linen is still smoldering away there. And this, I mean, this just, it looks like burning paper, but just slower. And you can see it like holds its shape there. Yeah, it still leaves that netting. So I would say that blue one was definitely cotton linen with some poly in it as well. So yeah, you can see the linen and the cotton are very, very similar. I really don't know how you would tell the difference. I guess the linen definitely burnt up more, and this is like, okay, so yeah, you can see this super fine ash. That blue, this blue did not have that fine ash, right? It was like beads crumbled. So the cotton is the same as the linen. So maybe this, there must not be very much natural fiber in this. It must be closer to polyester. But I do still think there is cotton or linen in it. But maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it's not. I think that because of this, the weave that it left. Remember we saw that somewhere? Very interesting. Okay, so the cotton ash actually stayed black, and then the linen one is like white or gray. So that's interesting too. Okay, let's move on to the polyester. Now, this is double brushed poly, so there's like spandex and stuff in here too, but I think it's going to be a pretty good indication of what polyester does. It doesn't really want to burn, it's just more melting, very similar to what this blue piece did. It's still burning, hey? Like there's not a lot left there, and it just still wants to burn and melt. Okay, so we are left with a melted pile. It is crumbling, but there might be, you know, some other stuff in there. So that's what that is. Okay, so next up is wool. And this, I did have this handed down to me. It actually, in the salvage, it says what it is. It's wool worsted. And yeah, you can see it does not want to burn here at all. And in the wool on the chart, it says, burns slowly, fabric curls away, leaves a brittle, crushable bead. It smells like burnt hair or feathers. Yep. Dark smoke. Yep. Gritty, powder, or dark, brittle, easily crushable bead. So yeah, it is definitely wool. Okay, now let's move on to Rayon. So this, I am actually really unfamiliar with Rayon. So let's see what it does. On the chart, it says that it is going to burn without flame. So that's interesting. Well, there's definitely flame there. But yeah, it just like shrivels right up, hey? Glowing like cotton did. Yeah, I would say this is Rayon cotton. If I were doing this test, I don't think I would notice any of the rayon. It says no beads remain, but so does cotton, burning paper, slightly hazardous smoke, and soft gray ash. So yeah, I think the only telltale sign of rayon, which isn't even that telltale, is the gray ash. But our cotton had, well, the cotton was more black, wasn't it? So yeah, I guess that's really the only sign of it being rayon. So it must be rayon cotton. Okay, then I just had this hemp and bamboo scraps and I wanted to see what they do. Like I said, the hemp is on this list and I have a feeling it's going to be a lot like the cotton. So let's try that one first. So far, a lot like the cotton. It says the smell might be different. Yeah, I guess it is more of a woodsy smell, and I see there's more blue flame in there. And then the ash is going to be different as well, which I think this is actually a blend too. But yeah, definitely different smell. That's the main thing. And this is a bamboo, oh, I don't know if it's considered a bamboo jersey or what, but it is bamboo knit. I don't think it's 100% bamboo. It's not, because there's spandex in it. Okay, and it wants to go out there. It doesn't want to burn. It's leaving a glowing ring, but that could be the cotton. The smoke is not black. Ow. All right, so it is slowly burning here, black. It's not really an ash, it's just like the fibers. It smells different. Not good, different. Ash, I guess. But yeah, not really an ash. I think that's probably the synthetic fiber in there that's doing that. But yeah, it's really smoky in here. I'm gonna turn on my vent fan, get this cleaned up, and continue my dyeing. So I hope that was kind of entertaining and maybe a little bit helpful for you, just to see kind of how a burn test looks and how easy it is. So the number one tip I have when doing your burn test is have everything ready. Preparation is number one. You can have your tweezers ready, have your fabrics ready, your matches. I would also recommend using a sink if you have access to one, just in case something does get a little bit crazy. You can just throw the tap on. A fire extinguisher might also be handy to have nearby. I also went ahead and, like you saw, I made my little sheet there with all my fabric swatches on it so I could write down my findings. Maybe this is just me, maybe I'm like a nerdy science geek or something. But I found it really helpful to write down, and I found it really helpful to print off that chart of the different characteristics of burning fabric so that I could have it right there and handy, look at it, circle it, whatever I needed to do. I am very much a tactile paper pencil type of person, so to have it on my phone, especially around the sink, wasn't something that I was interested in. Which leads me into my second point, which is to take notes. You know, maybe you do this burn test and then you get distracted and you don't end up using the fabric that you did a burn test on, or maybe you did the burn test as soon as you brought it home from the thrift store and then you washed it and put it away and then you forget what it is. Take notes, keep them somewhere handy, maybe even staple it right to that fabric so that you kind of know what is going on there. And then you have it and you don't have to redo the burn test if you forget. I've read a lot of things that say to use a 1 inch by 1 inch square of fabric. I do not recommend that. I recommend the bigger piece, the better. Yes, of course it takes longer to burn. Yes, it's gonna make more smell and all of that, but you're going to have longer to assess the fabric, especially if it's something that's going to burn quickly. You're going to have more time to look at that, the flame, the ash, the smoke, everything, and see what is happening there, and it'll give you a better representation of what's going on. You saw me do this. burn fabrics that you do know the content of. This just helps you to learn what's going on in those fabrics that you already know the content of, so you can know what is 100% cotton gonna look like, what is linen gonna look like, what is polyester gonna look like. You can burn those fabrics so that you know the content, and then you can write down your own chart and figure out what fabrics do when they're being burnt. And my last tip is to use a well-ventilated area. I didn't really. I mean, we have the window right here, which I did have to open. I couldn't turn on my vent fan because I was filming, but I highly recommend that. If you're burning synthetic fibers, it can be hazardous. So our house like stunk. Like it wasn't a good situation, but I did, once everything was done, of course, flip on the fan right away, and I did have the window open as much as I could while filming. But it is definitely not ideal to have all that smoke going on. If you can do this outside, I mean, that's obviously the best situation. And on that note, make sure if you have sensitive smoke detectors or one right above where you're going to be doing your burn test that you disengage it or cover it or something like that, or just be mindful of it and do your burn test somewhere else or something like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, if it was, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you like my content, be sure to subscribe because there's more where that came from. Have a great week, guys. Bye.